Hey everybody, welcome to a new series that we are going to be producing in the downtime between Arkham Horror, the card game, which doesn't happen often.
And probably the uptime too.
Yeah, but right now we're in the middle of the Dream Eater cycle, which requires 2 decks to be built, so we don't really want to build 3 decks and then do another scenario or campaign.
Too much strain on the collection.
Yeah.
And what if we run a second Dream Eaters?
Oh,
no.
At the same time.
No.
But only using the cards we're not using in our first decks.
No.
Challenge mode. Yeah. Just play with the dregs.
Hard moding.
But Travis had a great idea to do list videos, because list videos are great, because then you can look at them and be like, oh, this is what the person thinks from 5 to 1. I disagree. Number 3 should be number 1.
They're kind of clickbaity.
Yes, they're clickbaity. But these are our top 5 encounter sets. We're going to go through, kind of explain why, talk in a group about it. We know everything about each other's lists.
And for these lists, there's going to be no real structure to them. They're just going to be whatever we feel like talking about.
Yeah, and then, the same kind of thing as well. Like, we all are going to have different reasons why things are on our list.
Yeah.
Right? So why don't we start right away with Bryn's number 5. So that is Resurgent Evils, Apparel. Revelation, you must choose one. Either draw the top 2 cards in the encounter deck or place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This can cause the current agenda to advance.
Yeah, so this one for me was interchangeable with the
Carcosa
count. It's a Return to Path to Carcosa.
Illusory Evils, I believe it's called.
Yeah, something like that. I like this one because Ancient Evils makes the game a lot more difficult to play. But this one gives you a way to play around it. You actually get to make a choice. It doesn't just show up and it's like, cool, game's real hard now. Mm-hmm. That's it.
It doesn't make the game harder, it just makes it faster.
Yeah, well,
which makes it harder.
Yeah, but it's not like it makes it harder. Is it doesn't actually affect the game state. It doesn't make it more difficult to do things. It just gives you less time to do them in.
Yeah.
So, can we say it makes it more stressful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's definitely an aspect of the game I appreciate, even if I don't particularly like the way that Ancient Evils does that.
It's pretty fair.
All right, my number 5. So encounter sets, as Travis described to me, is just an entire little symbol, a little pip that's in the center of the circle. So I went with the entirety of the
Dim Carcosa.
Dim Carcosa, there we go, number 5 on my list. So a lot of this comes from it, because as I was looking through all the cycles, the hidden cards in the Path to Carcosa campaign were really cool. Just the idea of your own little personal madness. And as I was going through the whole thing, they appear in the Unspeakable Oath, as just a generic encounter set within the game, and then also in Dim Carcosa, where to me it's like where they become the most extreme, and I like that part of it. So it's not so much this Dismal Curse, it's here, you can look at it, but it does also, in addition to those hidden cards, I like the fact that there are these, how well the cards work at making you crazier and punishing you if you're insane, which adds a nice little tension to that one. So it's kind of all the stuff, it's just all about this crazy you are, the worse things are. Carcosa is, Hastur is pissed if you have no insanity. Oh yeah, this one's classic.
Classic.
Yeah. But here, these are the ones that matter.
This one was classic.
Yeah, the pooping man with the knife.
They're lucky they put this one on a fun card.
Yeah. But if I like the thing that just it makes it so that the horror is that once again going to that theme of going crazy in Carcosa is a bad thing, and at a point it'll just kill you. So it makes that other bit of tension. While every other card in the game in this encounter, like the whole scenario, is about making you go crazy. This is like the payoff to that idea, while having the hidden mechanic, and then also I like the. It actually is pretty easy to get rid of as well, right? But they're going to come back and more, and there's also a little hidden detail of what happens if you're holding one at the end.
Yeah, I do think there's a nice balance there with how difficult they are, how easy they get rid of, and how harsh the effect is. Where there's definitely scenarios where you have to weigh whether you want to get rid of it or it's worth to just maybe I can live with this.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun that you can have that thing where you're like, I'm not going to be crazy for a while, and then suddenly you're like, this is looking a lot scarier. So this is one of them. The other one to get rid of is spending 5 resources. So this one's a little bit harder.
Same pooping man, different color.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the last one is stabbing someone else at your location.
That one's fun.
Yeah. You can also stab yourself if you're playing solo,
Yeah.
or if you're nice, but we're not nice. We like stabbing our friends.
Yeah.
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 Travis.
Yeah.
Your number 5 is the
Agents of Azathoth.
Yeah.
You'll find that this is a common theme for a lot of the encounter sets that I like, but I like the ones that build tension in the story and the ones that make you feel like they give you that sense of existential horror and sort of a mounting action that it was a big part in the stories that Lovecraft writes. This one, you have the demonic piping, and it just shows up, and then it doesn't do anything until there's 3 of them, really. And especially if you're someone who hasn't played these scenarios before, like, that's very stressful.
Yep.
To deal with. And, like, who's the Piper of Azathoth? Especially if you don't know much about the mythos, like, who is Azathoth? I think it does a very good job of, like, applying that pressure without... it applies pressure in a way that doesn't really use game mechanics. It, like, makes the players dread what's coming. So.
Yeah. And I just like the fact that the slow build to 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, we dealt with him. He's here. We survive. And then he starts playing again, and you're like, oh, we're still not free of this, because that can happen. Bryn, you're number 4. Close friend of the one we saw earlier.
Yeah, possibly this should have gone in the other order. I do like the other cards more as an encounter set than the
Bryn,
classic Ancient Evils, but I think it's
so close with Ancient Evils for so long.
For so long. Yeah, I'd like to say it's been a love-hate relationship, but it's actually just hate.
Yeah, I consider playing this on my list because, like, I think there's kind of an interesting game designed point of view, but also I hate it.
Yeah,
I do not like it.
I don't feel like I could put the redo version of the card onto the list without a nod to the original one here.
It's pretty fair.
This card is just brutal, and sometimes you lose the game when you didn't think you would.
If you guys want to go back and watch any of our playthroughs in every scenario, we will bitch about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, and the one reason why this one I didn't even humor for my list, because you have to, like, when you know it's there, you're like, well, I'm going to build, I need to make sure I can deal with it, right? Which is less fun than some of the other ones to me, but...
Like, the reasons I considered it for my list was that, like, while I think it's kind of lazy design, it does really do a good job of really instilling in people who are new to these kinds of games, like, Doom is bad. Like, there's a card in the deck that specifically adds a Doom, and, like, it wouldn't be bad if it did that.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think it's also important design to make it so that when the designer's like, this is a scenario where things can go slower, let's just throw Ancient Evils in, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah. It also
like
makes
it.
it much more difficult to plan out your future turns, where you're not like, well, I have 9 actions worth of stuff left that I can do, but, like, maybe you don't.
Yeah. It does add some uncertainty. So there are positives to this, but overall, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
and, like, as part of the core set, I feel like that is the place where design can be lazy.
Yeah.
Like
Because
rats.
it's the beginning of the game. You're showing us the basic concepts.
All right, my number 4. So this one is the only one from our group from the Forgotten Age, and that was the City of Archives, with all of the flavor of our Yithians. And a big thing with that, as I was going through my list, I started with 12 that I was like, these are the ones that are notable to me. And I could not get rid of this one.
too.
Because I was just like, there's just too much good in this one that works. Like, just the flavor of these Yithian enemies who are like, if you are progressing the mission, they realize that you are not Yithians.
Yeah.
So they're going to start attacking you, right? Like, there's a lot of flavor just in this part of this. These guys all kind of have the same thing. This one, you're able to literally act like you're a Yithian. He's looking at you and like, beep boop, I'm a Yithian. Then you evade him automatically. And if you fail, he's like, you're not a Yithian.
like,
Going further, there are these other cards that kind of work against you for the encounter. But the big thing was the Yithians themselves are what made this one really fun to me. And then I think it just is a very good encounter set for its design and how it hurts the players in the flavor of the entire thing.
if I had to pick one from the Forgotten Age, it probably would have been this one. But I ended up not, because I was like, I like the scenario more than the individual cards. So.
Travis.
Number 4. What's this one called? Inexorable Fate. That's what it's called.
All right.
This is one from the Circle Undone. Again, I really like the design of these, of the sort of mounting dread that doesn't affect you immediately but has a large effect later. And in particular, I like the other card in the set, if you could change it, and how it forces you to make decisions that maybe your teammates aren't okay with. I really, really enjoy that kind of interplay between the players, that kind of inter-player conflict that can be generated by cards like this.
Yeah.
Like when we were playing Battlestar Galactica a week ago, you guys don't have to see that, but I'd look at a card and then be like, the president has solved this. Yeah, that sounds like it'd be fun to make them choose between screwing over the admiral or like screwing over everybody a little bit.
This was on my list for a very similar reason. The Fate of All Fools just feels like a very fair but oppressive card when you draw it. Like
you draw it every time except the first time. You're just like,
yeah, but it's all very fair,
Yep.
right? Like because you can heal the damage, right? But at the time you just draw and you're like, sorry, Bryn, because Bryn always gets it.
You have to decide. You gotta like think about it though. You're like, how many times can I stab Bryn before he dies?
Yeah. But then there's also the placing one Doom also can sometimes be a positive thing, right? Like because you're like, we're about to flip over. This is a great card to see.
Yeah, why not?
I think it's just a very well designed card.
It is. And the other one's like, it's definitely not Terra Nice, like definitely not bad design. It's
but it's scary. It has the same kind of feeling of
that mounting dread, like I said.
A lot of the time I see Terra in the night and then fail the test, and Travis is like, "You've killed me."
And even if it's the first one, he's like, "What have you done to me? I'm dead."
I need to start. Well, I mean,
like I have 5 sanity. What
that
are you
campaign
doing?
I was playing Mark Harrigan, I was like, I need to start like being like aware of this now.
Yep. Bryn, your number 3 is Realm of Torment.
Yeah.
This one's Realm of Death.
This one's
the encounter set.
The encounter set is called the Realm of Death. Realm of Torment is why this set is here, because throughout the entire campaign that this set is from, Realm of Torment was my closest and dearest friend.
Yes.
I could not be rid of them for any reason at all.
This was also in my top 12.
But also, like
I like its design of making it so that you think the goon, will be able to avoid haunted effects. Just kidding. Here you go. I think it's very good at that.
Yeah, it does a good job of making the haunted effects matter, even if you're not planning on interacting with them.
Yeah, and it can just ruin you. It can just ruin your day. Yeah. And you're like, great, now I have one less action. I can end my turn here. It provides an interesting dynamic.
I love how you're just repeating that to Bryn. Like, you can just ruin your day, Bryn. It's
like I know.
I was here for that, actually.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, and it does provide a little bit of interesting decision making where you could be like, I'm going to end my turn in this haunted location because it is the softest effect.
Yeah, because like this one says lose 2 resources and I have 1.
Yeah. My number 3. So this is where we kind of, as I was making my list, this is the one that struck me where I was trying to define what was my top 5 encounter set. And a big thing was how the versatility of them and the design can just be so ubiquitous, and there's so much to do with those cards. So that's why mine's actually just the basic cultists from the base game.
I thought about them.
Because they're very well designed. This guy is just a 3/1/2. He's so easy to kill.
He's just like Gads.
Anyone can just punch him to death and he's like, I'm done.
Yeah, sometimes he fights a dog.
Yeah.
It's also in flavor with other Arkham games, like in a second edition when the cultist is like, no, you stabbed me like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like
so easy.
But the thing is, he enters with a Doom on him, so he immediately becomes a problem. Right, and like it's going back to what you were saying about Ancient Evils. It immediately establishes this guy bad. We must kill him, and also gives the flavor of a cultist doing a ritual. Right, and then it goes a bit further where we have the Wizard of the Order, which is like the beefed up one. Even going from 3 to 4,
he's the boss.
Yeah, immediately makes it so that now we can't be like, okay, Travis, you need to just attempt to kill this guy this turn.
Yeah, especially with the 2 health, like you need your fighter to go deal with it. You can't just have a guy who happens to have 3 fight or like 2 fight and overpower in his hand can just beat this guy up.
And they also spawn in empty locations, which also then they're like doing their ritual and their own thing. And then this guy continues to do his ritual. He's not done just once. So you can be like, oh, we drew him on Doom Tick. We can just leave him. No, you can't with this guy. The last one, I understand why it's in there. It's to make the cultist scary or make the player players interact with this encounter set. But it's mostly for the first 2 cultists what made this one, because I just feel like their design is... We've actually lost games just because of those cards, right?
Yeah, this card is basically just extra copies of cultist in the deck.
Yeah.
No, like I thought about this set just because like it's so generic and it's so good at it.
Yes, yeah. Like that's also what goes to my number 1.
Yeah, they
like,
can actually just slam it in any set, and you're like, this makes sense. It's good.
And it feels good to play against, because it's like we've lost to the cultists because we've just been like, hey, we're going to ignore them for a bit. Then we're like, we can't ignore
I
them.
love drawing cultists and being like, Bryn or just
Yeah. Travis, your number 3 is this isn't Dunwich, but there's a Whippoorwill here. What's this one called?
This one is from Union Dissolution, the Circle and Dun encounter set. Again, this one deals with the emotions that the game instills in the players and the mounting dread, in that if you want to flip through, it's not so much about the creatures. It's more, not even about this one. It's like these ones, the Psychopomp Song and the other Omen, that like really, you get them and you're like, oh man, I could just die. Like, it really plays into the flavor that was first set out by the Whippoorwills in the Dunwich expansion, where they herald death. And like this, that's what these cards do. You draw them and you're like, if I take a damage, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna take 3 damage and like 4 horror, actually.
I've definitely watched Travis kill me with one of these.
Those are sick.
Speaking of, loving to stab our friends.
Those are sick.
Yeah, the flavor of these ones, I agree. The Whippoorwills themselves were also on my list because I feel like they're a very well-designed card.
Yeah, having that Whippoorwill action in this set is just like a bonus.
Yeah.
And are they one you're going to talk about?
No.
Okay, then I will go over why they're so good.
The Whippoorwills?
Yeah, the Whippoorwills in particular.
Not you, Spectral Raven?
No, Spectral Raven's dirt. They're just...
He is.
They're annoying. You're like, -1 to all your stats is actually a huge debuff when you look at player cards that buff all of your stats. But most of the time you see them, you're just like, eh.
If you're playing Preston, your stats are all 0, which is functionally almost identical. But
You scoff at it because you're like, most characters use 1 or 2 stats. You're a mystic, you're like -1 brain. Oh no, I only have 5 now. But then like you still gotta kill the Whippoorwills.
Yeah.
But and they take two actions to kill, even though they've got 1 health.
You climb up the tree and you're like, hey, bird!
Yeah, and they follow you around like the piece of garbage they are, and they're just like, wee, wee, and this card again plays into the theme of heralding death, where it follows you around, and if you don't deal with it, it makes you more likely to die.
Yeah, and then also like the idea that because the people see a -1 to their stats, and it actually is pretty big because the Chaos Bag now just becomes a lot more lethal against you. But in addition, you are like, we have to just ignore this Whippoorwill for now. Suddenly you have a boss fight, and 2 more Whippoorwills fly into your location, and they're just all like tweet, 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 and you're like, oh no, we're gonna die.
Your goon's like, I have 2 fight. I can barely fight the Whippoorwill.
Yeah, the Whippoorwills are bomb.com. Anything else?
Strangely, they can be arrested by a police officer.
Yeah.
Or, the FBI.
Come here, bird. Throw some dynamite in a tree.
Well, I mean, I don't like get arrested by a police officer. You just like shoot that bird, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, what made it is that the Psychopomp Song was also on there. Apart from aside from the art, which is one of my favorite in this whole freaking game, just a bird sitting on the guy's head.
Yeah.
But because it was on a different one from the actual Whippoorwills themselves, that's why I didn't include it in mine. So I'm glad you did, because this is something that I think is really...
I also really appreciate how the Psychopomp Song and its mirrored version both have peril.
Yes.
So other people can't say, I handle this, or whatever.
Yeah.
They can't cancel with their wards of protection, because those Whippoorwills are coming for you, baby.
Yeah. That's also in there.
Yeah. No, that one's the one that's also in there.
Yeah. This one's just here. It's
That's not. I don't care about that one. Don't talk about that one.
Bryn, number 2 is so this is specifically, you said the Byakhis from...
Yeah, it's the
Phantom of
Byakhis
Truth.
from the Phantom of Truth. They're like a mirrored pair. They're not both from this encounter set, but I don't think anyway. Where one of them is very difficult to fight while it's ready, and the other one is very difficult to evade while it has no damage on it.
Man, you guys are like, I'm so happy because this one was one of my last ones I cut. I think this one, the flavor of this whole encounter set is on point.
Yeah, if I had to pick one half of it to be, it's definitely this encounter set.
Yeah, and then also like...
It's just a neat one.
This is the one that I also just want to talk about. Just like when you read this card, you must either remove 1 Doom from the current agenda. Oh my goodness, that sounds so
seem
great.
like it should be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Don't mind if I do, game.
But yeah, the flavor of these Byakhis is really sweet, and these Byakhis are actually pretty like 5 is high for something that you're going to draw quite a bit of in this game.
Yeah, no, 5 is a lot, and they hit you hard. Like 3 pips of damage is a lot.
Yeah.
The only real saving grace is like that 2 health. Mm-hmm. And they follow you too. Wow.
They do.
I mean, like that's what
I think
Byaku's do.
most of the Byaku. I think pretty much every Byaku in the game has Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like their thing.
Yeah,
That's like their what you would call its core identity.
Yeah.
Like how cultists have Doom on them.
Yeah.
And snakes are pieces of shit.
But this entire encounter set is pretty neat.
Is this the one with the Bryn special? Yeah, this one is also the Bryn special.
I see you also like Bryn.
Yeah. No, this entire encounter set has a whole lot of things that like it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, and then you start failing tests and you're like, I can't play the game anymore.
I love this one too. As I was going through and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say about all the sets that I chose. With this one, I just because you have so much time in the Phantom of Truth,
you can do
that this was here designed to make it so that things just become a little bit harder for you in a really fair way.
Everything's incredibly taxing to actually make happen.
Yeah. And that adds up because suddenly you're just like, oh no, I have to do this event because the organist is here and I need to either run away or kill him, right?
Something else that this card punishes for that scenario is the decks that want to just get like a really powerful engine up and running, and it slows that down a lot and forces them to kind of keep pace with what the game's doing.
I do love that though. This and the Realm of Torment are just the Bryn cards that he always just seems to end up getting and hanging out with him for a long time. And he's just like, well, I'm done. I'm not playing cards anymore.
You've been playing green money deck.
So this one's real fun when you get like multiple copies of it and you're like, I could succeed this test by playing this lucky, but it cost me all my money that I've been building up for the last 2 turns.
It cost me 5 money.
Like, this is incredible. I'll play Teddy Bear. Hang on, it costs 2.
Oh, yeah.
So Travis and my number 2 is actually the same set. We nailed it.
We did.
It's the Pallid Mask.
It's so good.
Yeah, that I had the exact same feeling as I was going through and looking at them. I'm like, this one's just so
They're
good.
all so cool.
Yeah.
The design, this is the first one I have that doesn't deal with like the player's emotions towards, I mean like a little bit with this old man, but like the player's emotions towards the games and the setting, but like all the cards are just so unique, so well designed.
And they have a big, they fit so well into the mood of the encounter as well.
Yeah, they make you feel like you're in the catacombs and you're like blindly scrambling around. Anything could be in the dark, including this guy.
Yeah, and like this guy bursting out of Old Man.
Yeah, this
very
one,
Resident Evil.
The first time you play
that's what I'm thinking of.
This guy shows up and you're like, this guy's like a shitty cultist. I don't even have to care about him. We'll just walk past him, and then suddenly
he's like, God,
he just explodes into this, and you can't ignore him anymore, and he's gonna come kill you.
Yeah. The best part is these aren't even the cool cards of this encounter set.
So this one is the one that is like, it's basically just
this one's a brain check.
Yeah. And it's so this is the one that I don't even want to talk about. But now we start getting into the cooler ones.
Yeah, this one's so good.
The flavor of this one's pretty neat. Just a little ghost being like, hey, hello. And if you look behind you as an action, and at the end of turn, if you did not perform that action, you must either discard all your resources or discard all cards in your hand, then discard the shadow behind you.
I love the design of this one where it's not like nothing's actually following you. It's just like something that constantly you just feel like there is.
And like the resources and cards are kind of like they don't really have like a hard flavor of what they are when they're in your hand, or like when you have resources in your pool. But it's like you lose your concentration because you're too busy looking behind you, so then you like drop something or like lose the focus.
Well, you have to keep the it takes up like mental space to be like, is there something behind me or not? And then like if you forget about it, then like you just get spooked.
Yeah, and what's nice about it is that it's also really soft. And like it's just one of those things that like you could draw at a time and be like, okay, I'll lose my one resource, right? When we get to the hole in the ground, which is yes, this card is scary, it's flavorful, but it's very easy to manage. But it can really ruin your day when it shows up because you're like,
especially like depending on the configuration of your catacomb, sometimes it shows up. You're like, I need to not be here, but I can't be anywhere else.
Yeah, or like we have to deal with the man in the Pallid Mask right now, but suddenly there's a hole in the ground, right? Mm-hmm. And also it has a little thing about attached location gets +1 shroud. I think that's there just to be like, go, don't be here. Just don't stay here, because it deals a truckload of damage. 3 damage is a lot.
Well, no, like it just makes sense flavor wise. There's a hole in the ground. You gotta like shimmy around it to look around the room and stuff. You gotta be conscious, especially if like in theory the hole is like growing in size. I guess that's how I always imagined it. So
yeah, it also has to do something if that. makes it so you can't just like attach it to your location and be like, cool, get the clues here.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Man, Travis.
It's the same one. Wow.
The same one. But yeah,
We could run that all back again if you want.
Yeah.
I just think it nailed
It's so
it.
good.
All right, Bryn, you're number one. Whatever these are called.
Delusions.
Delusions.
Is this set, and so the first 2 or 3 times that that we played with these, I think were the best. After you start playing with them a bit, you're kind of like, oh, I know which one you've got. But the first couple of times you play them, you draw it, you add it to your hand, and you just have to you start playing the game erratically because you're not doing things the way that makes sense to your teammates anymore, because you have to play around this new set of rules that applies only to you.
The first time I played Carcosa, and I made you guys
Yeah,
use the
that
same
was-
color sleeves as the encounter deck.
Yeah.
So good.
There was one that we played where Travis was playing Carolyn Fern. I think this was also the first time.
Oh.
That wasn't these ones in particular, but it was the hidden
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah, I was so.
Yeah, and he had one that stopped him from being able to attack lunatic enemies. And so we spent the entire game being like, Travis, can you just kill this guy, please? He's real soft. I need him not to hit me. And Travis was like, I can't attack my patients.
Yeah.
That's like the closest I've seen you to be like actually mad at me.
Yeah, it's just like.
Just do it.
I
Why are
think
you like this?
these ones, like your first time through, were like when we played with the sleeves matching it. I feel like because we play our games, our Arkham Horror games, for like entertainment, right? Like we're talking, we do a bit more table talk than we should, right? And against the rules.
Maybe.
But we're playing for you guys, right? Like we're playing for us, but we're also recording content. I feel like if you played a flavorful game where like everyone was like in character, you can only talk to each other in the same room, right? And like then like you didn't acknowledge cards, I think these ones would really go like their flavor would increase a lot, right?
Yeah, I like them as the like your character is going insane, so you're starting to behave
irrationally.
Irrationally, and
this one can really change.
You can like roll in the other ones from like the other encounter sets in Carcosa into this as well. It's not just Delusions.
Yeah,
It's
I just picked this one because it was the set that was only hidden cards and cards that deal with hidden cards.
Yeah, and mine was, that's the kind of the why I did the last one, because I just like the crescendo of them, but any of them were really fun to play with.
This one almost made my list, except that I was 100% sure one of you two were going to pick it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I also do like that the design. I didn't even look at the stuff from the Dream Eaters, even though there's a lot of stuff I like. Like I like the hidden ones because they feel really weird and
I don't
absurd.
think
Like
Dream
you're
Eaters
living in the
either.
dream world, right?
Yeah, like,
where it's
you can't play even costed cards.
or like cards with an even number of words in the title.
you just look at that and you're like, what the fuck?
But it works really well, and I like that the designers continue to explore that space.
Yeah.
And this is here too.
Yeah.
You know.
So my number one, this goes back to Dark Cult, where I feel like just from a design-wise, these things fit really well, and they're all three of them are very well-designed cards, and they do what they do very well. So this is the Striking Fear encounter set, to the point where Travis once said, and this is what made me think about this when I was going, how a card like Rotting Remains can just fit in anything, and it's appeared in other encounters, same with Frozen and Fear, because it does something well in a way that just fits and is completely fair. Like this 3 brain, for each point you fail, I take 1 horror. For a majority of people with high brain, they're like, I do not care about this card.
Yeah,
but like someone with no
sometimes.
willpower, you're like, I'm done, right? Like this corpse, I am undone. And then there's Frozen in Fear, which can really hurt you, but it's so fair in the way it's done because it does not cost an action to get rid of the test. You get a chance to do it for free every turn.
Yeah, and it will always affect you for at least 1 turn.
Yes.
Unless your team has put cards in their deck to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the cards do. They're actually pretty good too. So.
Yeah,
And then the last one, Dissonant Voices, which is you cannot play assets or events, and it's just gone. It's just a turn of like, you can't do these 2 things. Can really mess it up, but it's only 1 round. I just think these cards are just very well designed. They're flavorful. The idea of bad things are happening and you're scared and you're losing your mind and you can't really focus on the things you should be doing because they all kind of have that flavor. And then there's a dead body there too that can possibly make you feel
It's the same thing as the cultists, where they're just so generic, but they're so good at.
Yes, yeah. So.
Also, this encounter set, one thing I like about it is that it really cemented that brain checks are like what the encounter deck cares about.
Yes, yeah. It's like that's your defensive stat.
Yeah.
Well, it's like brain and foot. There's
Yes.
a lot of like a counterpart to this set that are like foot checks.
But I do like looking back and seeing. My favorite thing about going through this was seeing the point where they got where they were through the majority of their art files and seeing the improvement. Because especially when I was looking at...
we have to commission new artwork for this game.
When I was looking at the Italy one, I was like, man, this art is pretty rough in comparison to what they have now. Travis, you're number 1.
My last one is Lost in Time and Space. Specifically, the locations that are in the encounter deck is the big part of it. The things, apart from just liking the scenario in general and having it, like, if you want to hear us gush over how good the scenario is, go back and watch our Dunwich review. But this encounter set really set the precedent for so many other scenarios that wouldn't really be possible with similar mechanics. Having, like, it inspired the, like, basically the entire Forgotten Ages exploring mechanic, or was a predecessor to that. And it's very fun to play. It feels interesting. It feels like you're wandering through the cosmos trying to find your way through the universe, through those different locations. I really like the way that where are they? The enemies in this encounter set interact with the different locations and the choices that they offer you in, like, you know, you'll flip one of the clues or it's Doom, and like maybe there's still not a clue there, but is it worth going to fight this guy and then trying to get the clue, or like maybe just let the location dissipate? I think it offers a lot of choices in the gameplay, and again, it just really, really, in my eyes, is sort of like a historic encounter set for the Arkham game.
Yeah. Looking through it all, it blows my mind. I don't know how many designers are actively working on the game, or if it's just like the one guy who's like leading it all. But the amount of design space he has discovered in this game, or the team has discovered in this game, is insane.
Yep.
Like, you can also see like the precursor of this one leading to Before the Black Throne, when you're going through like the cosmos, right? Like, it's just insane. There's so much good in this game.
And there's so many scenarios that were like, they just like took this base model and then they were like, how can we make it unique for this scenario?
And this was the first time where it feels cosmic, because it feels alien. It's not how the game is normally played, which is something they now lean on quite a bit, but it's all really cool when they do.
Yeah. Everything felt very, very local up until this point.
I do like going through, looking at these, how the locations, you want to draw them, but they can still just act as your encounter card, and they have a negative effect too. I think they're very well designed with that regard as well. And this is here too.
I had an honorable mention I want to talk about real quick. Because it's like a stupid encounter set to talk about, but I think it's so good. And it's from the core set. It's locked doors.
Yeah.
It's because it's a door that's locked. That's gonna come up so often when you're going around looking for stuff, and it's just you either have someone who's reasonably strong to knock down the door,
or can pick it.
Yeah, and it's just like the door's locked. You can't get in.
If you have an honorable mention, I have an honorable mention, which was my number 6, my last one I cut, which was the filth one from Carcosa with the cockroaches, and I care about Shroud.
Yeah.
It provided a cool flavor. The fact that Shroud is that it's kind of like the evil of the location, right? Or like makes it like kind of obscure. And I just think it was really cool. And the cockroaches can become a very scary enemy when suddenly you're like, oh, this is it's a cockroach. It's an army of cockroaches.
There's a lot of cockroaches.
Yeah. But that is our top 5 encounter sets. I don't really have a name for this show. Like, I feel like there should be a name for our list of videos.
We can probably come up with something snappy in the future.
Exactly. For the time being, it's just welcome. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, let us know. We're going to be producing more of it. If you have any ideas for lists you want to see, let us know in the comments, and we'll make them.
Yeah. If you want to see us talk about our top 5 reasons for why Mark Harrigan is the coolest investigator in the game,
we could do that.
I have a hard time. I have to cut down from 12 again. Yeah. I got 12 on lock right now.
You want us to do 5 reasons we hate Ancient Evils each? We could do that.
We also can do negative lists. We can do those too, right? Like least favorite.
Yeah.
Least favorite of things. But yeah, and then also, what is your favorite encounter set? Let us know in the comments, because I read them. I know Travis checks them out, and I will respond to you. I'll say hello, and then I'll type a response, and that's usually how replying works. If you did not know that. But thanks for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Have a good one, and as always, GGs.